Galnet News Digest review of the year 3305. We recall the news so you don't have to. Part 2. Crimes and Misdemeanours. Summoning Tothos with Lucifer. The theft of an experimental nuclear weapon, the Lucifer device, in February led to a siege, sacrifices and a daring rescue at Archambault Terminal. It was an inside job. The secret research was being financed by Zlota Federal Holdings, and several board members later admitted to being members of a religious cult, the Children of Tothos, which believed that the demonic being they worshipped could be summoned from the spaces between the stars by making an enormous ceremonial sacrifice. On the 14th of March, the cult's charismatic leader Barnabas Cole and a party of his followers seized control of Archambault Terminal in the Chun Tsar system, apparently with the intention of detonating the stolen Lucifer weapon inside the station, thus generating a sufficiently large mega-sacrifice to summon their deity. The situation dragged on for some weeks, with, amazingly enough, some ships arriving with adherents keen to be part of the sacrificial explosion. Several hundred starport staff were ritually sacrificed ahead of the planned main event, and it wasn't until early April that the Federal Intelligence Agency managed to smuggle some of its agents onto the station posing as cult adherents, and shot cult leader Barnabas Cole dead. The Lucifer device was recovered, the cult disbanded, and millions of lives were saved. The Ambrose Foundation. The multi-billion Ambrose Foundation, which managed the wealth of a number of ancient families, found itself bankrupted overnight in February. Heiress Lady Talitha Ambrose vanished, along with the money. It eventually transpired that she had gambled away the entire combined fortunes of the foundation with members of the secretive Joker's Deck gambling club, the Lucky Recipients. As the membership of the Joker's Deck remains unknown, it seems unlikely that foul play could ever be proved or the fortune recovered. Lady Oksana Ambrose revoked her daughter's title and vowed never to speak to her again. A lost, frightened voice.
I'm scared. Really scared. I don't know what I'm doing here. I think I might have made a mistake. And now the monks are saying we need to go to sleep. I don't understand what's happening. I hope my dad hears this and comes to get me. I want to go home.
At the end of March, Federal Intelligence Agency operatives searching for missing agent Nathan Summers in the ruins of the Thargoid-attacked Far God cult base on Attain 4C found an occupied and still intact cryogenic pod in a collapsed underground chamber. 17-year-old Kiona O'Connor was subsequently revived and confirmed the story that the monks of the Far God cult had been taking in homeless people and freezing them cryogenically to await the coming of the Far God deity they believed was heralded by the Thargoid invasion. Kiona was unaware of the destruction of the base, but was pleased to be finally reunited with her family and her father, John. She remains the only survivor of the Thargoid attack. Missing Diamondback sparks speculation. A missing deckhand and a stolen Diamondback explorer was a talking point in May. Gan Romero apparently took the ship so that he could seek out an area of space not black but radiant, glowing like heaven, that he'd seen in his dreams. In his journal he wrote that he was being called by voices that didn't come from anything with a body. These strange dreams were linked to ex-Federal President Jasmina Halsey's visions of the caretakers of our galaxy. Could this be further evidence of some sort of telepathic communication with an alien race. Unfortunately, Gan Romero was never found. So we're left with nothing but speculation. Releasing slaves into the wild. Anti-slavery organisation Autonomy caused chaos at Port Isabel in the Eotienses in early June, when they bought and freed 4,000 imperial slaves. Apparently ignorant of the nature of indentured labour in the empire, Autonomy left 4,000 previously gainfully employed slaves free but with no means of supporting themselves, and with their debts to imperial society unpaid. The slaves remained in Port Isabel, relying on handouts to survive, for around 6 weeks, until they were rescued by Princess Aisling Duval's anti-slavery organisation Unchain, which bought their contracts and set them to work, building a new anti-slavery headquarters. This work allowed them to pay off their debts and become free citizens once more. Duval heavily criticised Autonomy's actions, explaining that imperial slaves are not like illegal slaves and must be cared for differently. You cannot, she explained, simply set huge numbers of people loose as if they were zoo animals being released into the wild. Surrendered red-handed. In June, one of the leaders of a narcotics smuggling syndicate was killed after handing herself in, but by her actions may have prevented a galaxy-wide tragedy. Jan Sandoval of the Red family surrendered to the Federal Intelligence Agency at Olympus Village on Mars after discovering that her organisation had developed a drug that was far more addictive than anything else on the market. Deciding that this drug would ruin many billions of lives, she decided to hand herself in and provide information to the FIA that would allow them to dismantle the cartel. With the information she provided, the FIA was able to simultaneously raid a number of Red family facilities and effectively halt the operation, seizing and destroying the narcotic. Red family leader Oberon Church escaped and is still at large, and he seems to have got his revenge on Jan Sandoval. 2 attempts were made on her life while she was under FIA protection. The second, which involved the administration of a deadly neurotoxin, was successful, prompting suggestions that there must be criminal elements within the FIA itself. Galnet goes parochial. In early August, the Galnet News organisation announced that it would no longer be covering galactic politics, crime or scientific developments. In the same month, Sagittarius Eye magazine ceased monthly publication, citing the lack of new information to report. Aisling Duval must still be causing trouble. Zach Rackham must still be undertaking dodgy deals. Rumours must still be circulating about mysterious visions. But we won't get to hear about it. The publishers of Galnet explained that they would henceforth be reporting only on the activities of members of the Pilots Federation, on events that affect members of the Pilots Federation, and on the many new ships and modules that would be made available to members of the Pilots Federation. New ships this year. There were no new ships released this year. And that was part 2 of this year's Galnet News Review of the Year. Galnet News, we recall the news so you don't have to.